and Matt. We've got Soma and Debbie. Okay.
Emily, you are breaking up. Your voice is breaking up to me. Is it breaking up for other folks?
Let me talk a little bit more. Talk.
A little bit of an echo, but that could be my computer.
No, I hear an echo too, but I hear you.
Technology. Okay. Yeah, now I hear the echo. Okay, there we go. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Secretary Fielder said he might, he's got a couple of conflicts going on, so he might be joining us in a few minutes, but he said to go ahead and get the meeting started. I think we have all of our segment partners here. So let me go ahead and call us to order. Do we have any introductions or welcome to anyone that I need to announce at this point? I don't think so. Okay, let's go over approval of minutes. Debbie sent those out. Any edits to the meeting minutes? I see head shaking, no. So can I get a vote to?
I move approval.
Thank you.
Second, if it's needed.
Second, everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Okay, I think this is going to be a short meeting. I really wanted to keep this meeting on the books to talk about two things, civic engagement and apprenticeships, because we're probably going to put out some announcements or guidance around these things before mid-January, before we meet again, and I just wanted to give you all a bit of context for that. So let me start with civic engagement. We were approached by a couple of other states that are interested in essentially having Maryland enter into a collaborative around civic engagement. You might have remembered, and Joe, please correct me if I get any of this wrong, some headlines maybe about 18 months ago that Maryland was participating, that there would be a commitment for Maryland to participate in civic engagement initiatives at the higher education level. And that commitment really was coming from the Chancellor and the USM offices. They've now said, well, we want to make sure we have all the segments represented in this initiative. So really, we want to make sure MHEC is part of that, as well as other, MAC, MICUA, Morgan, St. Mary's, understanding, you're right, that the breadth of higher ed is different in Maryland than in some other states. So that's all to say, one, I wanted to ask if there's any resistance that we should be aware of as we get a more formal request to join this commitment. So it'll come to MHEC. We'll probably work with the governor's office, and knowing, that our governor-elect is committed to civic engagement and having energy around individuals working in the public space. I think that's pretty consistent. So we'll have to do some navigating of all of that through this transition. Any concerns from the Segmental Advisory Council as we pursue Maryland being a part of this collaborative around civic engagement?
Emily, this is Joe Balkman. I have no concerns about this being a broader thing, but maybe I could spend just a couple of minutes defining for the other members of SAC what, in fact, the USM is doing. Not only do we have a student leader for civic engagement across every one of our campuses has a student leader and a faculty leader on civic engagement. Those groups meet at least once a month. In addition to that, we have under the Langenberg legacy, we now have Langenberg legacy fellows at every campus, where a little bit of money has been given to the best project, that student-led project at each campus on civic engagement. So we have those three different things going. We are also working with our fellow systems across the country, and at the December 7th gathering of the National Association of System Heads, it will be USM that will be presenting on our system-wide approach to civic engagement. because we're considered, among all the systems in the country, we're considered a leader there. But I have no problem with expanding that. I just wanted people to know kind of where we were in the system approach to this.
Thank you, Dr. Bothman. Dr. Yu.
Yes, sorry for coming a minute late. I just want to say when you talk about civic engagement, I want to add to what we've been doing. Just a couple of weeks ago, we hosted Transform Mid-Atlantic Community and Civic Engagement. So we will host the first meeting for Transform Mid-Atlantic. We have from 18 institutions participated, most of them a lot from Maryland. And we're going to have more engagement, more discussion during the middle stage meeting next month. So at Morgan State, we are enhancing our community and civic and community engagement to have more concerted effort in this regard.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Yu. Yeah, it's great to hear that there's so much activity already happening on the campuses. Dr. Phillips.
Thanks, Emily. And obviously this is an important issue. And I'm just curious, I know we met maybe a little bit over 3 weeks ago on this topic. And you had mentioned that there would be something coming forth from MHEC to the segments. Is that correct? And is there sort of a strategy or how that's going to roll out? I mean, you're kind of in the middle of election cycle here, and just kind of curious what I can tell my presidents, because they're actually going to meet on this topic this Friday. So anything I can share with them would be helpful.
Perfect. Yeah. So that's exactly, why I wanted to bring this up logistically. We have not received an official request from the other states for Maryland at large to enter into this collaborative. I think we're still waiting on that official request. We'll then likely share that request with you all as segment leaders so that you have that paper document that you can share and give you an opportunity to provide any concerns or feedbacks for why we wouldn't enter into this kind of collaborative. And then at the same time, work with the governor's transition team to make sure that this is in alignment with, again, other statewide initiatives, which I don't foresee a problem, but so those are all kind of the stakeholders that we would want to engage with. I foresee this happening in the next month or so, before the end of the calendar year, which is why I wanted to talk about it with you all, so that when we do send an email on this, you have some background information, you have absolutely all the permissions to share it with your constituents to make sure you're on board. We're likely going to just be asking, are there any concerns for us not to engage in this collaborative? And then we'll proceed. The other states, so Brad, you're absolutely right. The other states are Massachusetts, Virginia, and Utah right now. They're looking to get 15 states total, and that there may be some funding opportunities to support the work that campuses are already doing, but doing this more at a statewide level and across as many campuses as possible. So logistically, that's where I think we're at. I was hoping we'd have a formal request by the time our segment meeting happened today, but we just have not gotten that request yet. Joe.
Thank you. I would just hope, Dr. Dow, that you might consider, when this goes forward, creating some sort of work group or committee that could in fact move forward. And I'm sorry I had to jump off. It was my computer. I was only hearing every fourth syllable and wasn't making a lot of sense. So I dropped off and came back in. But what we would want to do is in fact capitalize on everything that we are already doing, so that the point people of each one of our groups could not only you would benefit from that, but each other would benefit from that as well.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Doing a little ad hoc work group of professionals, individuals on the campuses that are doing this work for technical assistance, support, whatnot. Yeah, great idea. Let's do that. Okay. So more to come on this front. Again, the summary is that we will be asked in some formal capacity, the state of Maryland, will be asked in some formal capacity to join up with some other states to work in this collaborative space around around civic engagement. So, okay, great. So more to come on that front. The next topic is apprenticeship programs. We have been working with Department of Labor for over a year now, I think, on guidance around apprenticeships and the really getting down to the nitty-gritty details of the roles and responsibilities of colleges when they are working with apprenticeship sponsors. So making a distinction between space rental versus actually being an apprentice sponsor. We have some colleges that say that they're sponsoring an apprenticeship program when really they're just offering space, or they're really only providing coursework for that apprenticeship. So we've Department of Labor convened a work group. We have a couple of community college representatives on there, certainly some apprenticeship sponsors, and then really this has been a joint effort between us and labor. We're likely going to roll that guidance out again sometime before January. And it really is just guidance. It's how to count your students when they are enrolled as part of an apprenticeship program, what that looks like. Again, this distinction between space rental versus actually being a sponsor, and just kind of walking through those distinctions so that when apprenticeship sponsors work with colleges, everybody kind of knows their role and responsibility. So it's going to be guidance. It's we're hoping to release it in the next few weeks. But again, I wanted to give us an opportunity to just talk about it in case there were any concerns, because you'll probably just get this via email for you to circulate. And it will probably be a Dear Presidents letter. So we'll probably send it directly to your presidents, but as segmental leaders, for you to share as well. Joe.
Thank you. Emily, will this come out as a part of the December 1st DLS report? Because the Department of Labor has had all these work groups going around apprenticeships as well. We've been trying to work with them on teacher apprenticeships and nursing apprenticeships. I think they're not terribly pleased with us. We've had members from several of not only USM institutions, but other institutions as well. And especially the legislators involved have had a hard time in understanding the constraints on certification and licensure that put us in a difficult way to be able to change our curriculum into a true apprenticeship model. So I just wanted my other higher ed colleagues to understand, we have been working with the Department of Labor and the legislature on this. They aren't real happy with us right now because we have not been able to completely upset the apple cart. I've tried to remind them that the December 1st report is a preliminary report. The final report isn't due until May, so we have a little bit more time, and we'll find out a lot more about what the legislature is thinking in the meantime. Our basic stance in this whole situation is we need to see what kind of incentives there might be out there before we turn things inside out and start promising faculty commitments without knowing that there aren't going to be resources associated with them. So I'm gonna turn out to be the bad guy here, and I apologize for being the bad guy on that on one hand, but let you all know that I'm willing to take some of the heat for higher ed in general on this one. I just don't think we're ready to change our teacher prep programs and our nursing program curricula to meet what they are thinking of as the apprenticeship model. And we worked closely with some of the MAC, especially the MAC group, trying to explain to them associate degrees in nursing versus RNs versus LPNs versus nursing assistants versus these other things. And our approach has been, while it's not a true apprenticeship model, nursing certainly fits an earn and learn model, so that students who gain any level of certification can be fully employed at that level of certification while they are a student. Now, if there are resources coming from the employers to pay the students either for their tuition or the students, that would be great, but we can't promise an apprenticeship model without those resources. So I just want to make sure since we're in the scrambling final points of trying to put this report together. Emily, I appreciate your indulgence there.
No, that's helpful to know. I have heard about some of those work groups. Clearly, we haven't been we MHEC have not been participating in it, but I've heard about them through the grapevine. So it's good to know that there's a bit of there's some context there. I think this guidance is not, it's low-hanging fruit guidance. It's really to clarify who's responsible for what, clarify roles and responsibilities when there's exchange of money. So for example, when apprenticeship wants to use space, but they've hired their own faculty, that really, then the college really shouldn't be counting that as FTE. So it's getting into those kinds of details around, again, just the relationship between a sponsor and a college. So not in details about any specific field or the connections with licensure, but it's helpful to know in case when we do release the guidance, it does kind of rock some boats. Now I know that there's been some other conversations happening. So thank you. Brad.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Boffman, for saying those things. It's good to know. And yes, Emily, to you, the guidance that it sounds like you're issuing, did you say that there were community college representatives in your discussion and putting this together? And it just sounds like it's maybe clarifying what should be the practices that we currently have.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
This is such a huge topic, especially we haven't mentioned the AIB's version of what apprenticeships are going to look like when it comes to rolling out the blueprint. So,
right.
a lot of action on this topic.
Absolutely. All the more reason why I think we need to just do some baseline guidance around relationships. But yeah, then you get into the more specific, like you said, teaching, nursing, cybersecurity, even the non-licensed licensure fields. There's energy for apprenticeships and trying to figure out that intersection between higher ed and the apprenticeship model. So, Dr. Boffman.
Let me just tag on to what you just said, Emily. In this whole process, one of the major thrusts of both the Department of Labor and the legislature is to elevate apprenticeships, making it the most desirable model for many of the students who are coming from K-12 into any form of higher education, whether that be straight into what we might traditionally call more apprenticeship kinds of situations, but also including these much broader 4-year and beyond degrees as well. So just so our colleagues on this call know, that's the ultimate goal, is to raise the apprenticeship model. And we have some committed legislators who are trying to find resources to do that. Whether they'll be successful or not, I don't know, but that's kind of the mindset right now.
Okay. So great. So more to come on that. Again, I just didn't want you to see a guidance document in the next few weeks and not understand the context for it. And we can go from there. So those are really our only 2 discussion topics. Any member updates for the group? So Dr. Yu and then Dr. Boffman. You are on mute, sir.
Okay, now I am. So I just want to say that this apprenticeship is important for Morgan State. So, in all the things we do, we want to also enhance apprenticeship for our students. So we are supportive of what the MHEC is doing.
Great, thank you. Dr. Boffman.
Thank you. I just wanted to give a brief update following up on the Transfer Summit that MAC had recently and so on. I wanted to let you all know that we spent quite a bit of time at our last President's Council meeting going over all of the expectations, both for Transfer with Success and kind of the 2-pronged approach that we see from at least my perch on ArtSys and the Transfer with Success. I think I will reinforce the fact that the overarching goal is, in fact, in everybody's mind. I think they are very appreciative of the fact that MHEC is understanding that gathering of data is going to be the really critical first step, and that we will learn. It's interesting. I got a slightly different perspective with the presidents because a couple of them said, I think it will be interesting for us to find out which ones we are rejecting on a systematic basis, but I think everybody in the long run may be pleased at the number of courses and credits that transfer smoothly and seamlessly, and that we can put in perspective some of these anecdotal kinds of concerns that individuals have, which I thought was quite an interesting perspective. Then I wanted to let you know that last Friday we had a reprise of the discussion of articulation system, ARTSYS, and transfer of success at our Board of Regents meeting. And the regents too were very engaged, to the surprise, I think, of some of the other folks in the audience, in understanding the complexities and understanding that we're in this for the long haul. The commitment is there, and the bottom line of let's do it right, not just fast, I think was our major takeaway from that.
Great, thank you. Dr. Phillips.
I just want to again reiterate my thanks to everybody that was able to attend. Dr. Boffman, Emily, your presentations, breakout sessions were phenomenal, very helpful. And it is good to hear that we are all focusing on the overarching goal of transfer seamlessly. And to your point, Joe, the whole idea was to get a clearer picture with the data, to see what is and what isn't working, and to appease sort of perhaps the existential crisis that community college presidents sometimes feel when they hear that story about a student who didn't transfer correctly. So I'm thinking that once the dust settles and we have the picture in focus, it will be a really calming picture. I'm hoping that we can all sort of benefit from having and actually use to grow our seamless transfer issues even better as a result of it. So thank you again.
And thanks to Mac for hosting it. It was a great event, well attended. It was nice to have Delegate Solomon there and Senator Elfreth, and so great work to Dr. Phillips and your team for making that all happen.
Thank the chief academic officers and provosts. They really did the heavy lifting on that.
Great. Any other member updates?
We have one new president, Yolanda Wilson, at College of Southern Maryland. So one more. We'll have now 5, that might be 6 new presidents in the past 2 years. Wow. So that's quite a transition for Maryland community colleges.
Congratulations. That's exciting. Some changes. Okay, going once, going twice. Our next meeting will not be till January. Our agency is, going through the transition process. We'll keep you all informed as that all happens, but we'll keep our work going, and obviously reach out to Secretary Fielder if you have any questions or concerns. Otherwise, he wanted me to make sure if he hadn't been on by the time we closed out, happy holidays, happy new year. And we'll just stay in touch on all these various issues. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.